community. Pastor Baker, again, thank you for being with us. God bless you. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome. It's good to see you here tonight. I'm feeling a little better. It's starting to clear up a little bit. I don't know if it's the drugs or if it's just a good nap, but here I am. It's great to see you. We really do always feel a part of this family, this body when we come. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate the Murphy family. It's nice to be able to bring our kids to something like this and get some preaching and to see other friends. One of the things that any missionary that goes out to any part of the world struggles with, or at least is a bit of a challenge, is just having familiarity and things, people that you have a lot of things in common with, and just hanging out and enjoying those friendships. And over the years, God has given us a few of those, but it's a little more difficult with the kids, as there's just not as much in common, and not that they have to have a lot in common, but most of the kids in that area, of course, there's not a lot of Christian friends, right? And so lots of kids have a completely different set of morals and ideas of what to do to have fun. And so it's just a bit of a challenge. So it's nice for them to be able to come and see other kids their age and hang out and get some preaching and get refreshed. So I appreciate that. And it has been a great conference. We've really enjoyed our stay with you and the Murphys this week. Just to give you a little bit of kind of a background, I pastored in North Dakota for about 12 years. And then God called us over to Hawaii. Hawaii is the southernmost island of the Hawaiian chain. You have Kauai, and then you have Oahu, Maui, and then the Big Island. There's some outlying smaller islands there, but we live on the Big Island. On the west side is the city of Kona, and up in the mountains, we say Mauka or Makai. That's how everything is described over there. Either it's toward the ocean, it's toward the mountain. Makai would be toward the ocean side, Mauka would be toward the mountain side, and that's where our church is up in the mountain. And it hasn't always been there. We started off in a little storefront in downtown Kona at a car detail shop in the parking lot. And we were there for about 2 or 3 months. And during that time, we began to strategize and talk a little bit about how would church look in Kona? What does the Lord want us to do when we get things really moving? And as far as like times of the service, do we have an evening service? Do we have all these Sunday school classes with nobody coming? I mean, how do we do all this? And what do we call the church? And do we take up an offering at the beginning? Do we take it up at the end? Do we put a box out in the back? All these little things, right? We could do it however we want. And we just wanted to honor the Lord and also be cognizant of the culture and just an understanding of how people relate and what they're comfortable with. And so we took all those things in consideration, and during that time, the Lord opened up an opportunity for us to go to an area just a little bit south in the Keoho Shopping Center, where everybody said, oh, you're in there. That place is expensive, and it is typically expensive. But we got in there for $1,000 a month, which was dirt cheap. It was a bunch of tiny little rooms. It was an upstairs area, no traffic. It was a place, right? And because it hadn't been rented for years, they gave us quite a great deal. Well, as our church began to grow, we moved from one room to another room to another room until we started taking down walls, and we met in the largest area in that space. Downstairs, right directly below us, was a veterinarian clinic years ago, and they had shut that thing down, covered all the windows, and made that into storage. And we were praying about getting an Awana program started. And this was nice and wide. There was no interior walls, no beams to interfere with our Awana circle. We said, oh, let's look at this. And so we asked to go inside and look. It wasn't for rent or anything. It was just a possibility. And that's how a lot of steps that we take as Christians, they're just possibilities, right? And we explored that. We seen what might need to be done. There was HVAC stuff hanging down from the ceilings. There was garbage everywhere. There was busted tile everywhere. And we said, this is perfect. This is perfect because it had the space we needed and we're willing to do the work. And if we, went into a really nice facility, there was no way that we could afford it. Consequently, when we moved out of that, they rented just that space alone for $10,000 a month. That's how we fixed it up. And so we asked them and we inquired about it, and they said, well, we'll talk about it. They got back to us. They said, well, how much are you looking at? I said, well, there's a lot of work that needs to go, and you know how you do, and you wheel and deal, and you let God just do the rest, touch their hearts. And they said, well, how much? And we said $1,000 a month. And they said, deal. But the whole thing was dependent on, basically, it was us in a contract where it was a month-to-month basis. So there was no contract over a long period of time. So if somebody came in and wanted the space, we had a month to get out. That was the agreement. So we said, okay, we'll take it. And so we started breaking up all the tile. We had a friend come out with a concrete smoother, and he just started grinding the concrete down. We filled in all these wash basins, and filled them all in with concrete. I don't think they're ever going to need that. Let's hope. And then we had an electrician come in, redid the electrical. We painted the place. We designed a backdrop behind the pulpit. We designed a wall that was portable between what we would call the sanctuary and everything else. And it was supposed to be for Awana, but it turned out so nice. We moved the sanctuary down in there, and we put the kids upstairs for Sunday school. And it ended up being very nice, and we were really grateful for that. We got a lot of tourists coming through there because it wasn't a very tourist area, a lot of condos and such in that area. But the Lord blessed us there. We began to grow there. We've seen a lot of people get saved and baptized during that period of time. And then the Lord began to deal with us, and particularly with me, in an area that I really wanted to venture out in, and that was, with a vocational school, trade school, trying to reach the young people there. I suppose with any culture, people really appreciate when you invest in their kids. You've got local clubs here, Boys and Girls Clubs of America. I'm sure there's a number of different ways of getting involved in children's lives. And people respond very well to that. Hawaiian people love that. You invest in their kids. It doesn't matter where you're from. They're just appreciative. And so we began to look at that. Well, there's no way we could even do that where we're at. I mean, it was so confined. We couldn't have afternoon activities. We started having a few, and then they cracked down, had me in the office, say, hey, you got these big old playhouses and all this, and we just can't do it. You're blocking way too much traffic. It's not going to work. And so the Lord began to get us looking in another direction. Well, some guy called me up, and he is a friend of ours, lives right down the road, and he is a welder. And we had been talking to him about the trade school. And he said, hey, there's a Christian school up in the mountain, Holualoa, that has a school there that they're going to get out of. Maybe that would be a possibility for you guys. And so I called the Christian school, and I began to describe to them what we had planned, and they were like, yes. We have a number of people already lined up that are interested in it, but we would much rather talk to you first. We'll just put you ahead of everybody else. And so we got to talking, and they agreed. And so we began to bring the State Department in because it was leased land and property from the state of Hawaii. Whoa. And so we came in, we met. There was an agreement that our school would be a good fit for that area, and we started to go down that road. Well, in negotiation process, I got a call from the rental place where we were renting at the Keho Shopping Center, and they said somebody has already come in and offered $10,000 a month for your facility, and if you can't come up with that, then we're going to have to allow them to come in. You got 30 days. Well, there's no way we're paying $10,000 for half of the space, and the upstairs was not going to work, and so we just said, well, we'll leave. And within that month, everything worked out for us to go up to the new building and to start having services there. It was just, the Lord's timing was absolutely perfect. And so what was so exciting was the church got to see that process. Yeah. It's so neat when the church family is involved in certain parts of it, and they begin to see God working, especially newer Christians, and they begin to see how God was moving us. And so please pray for that. It's been 2 years we've been in that building, and we're still waiting for the last step to sign the lease. And that lease will be with the state for 30 years at $1,000 a month, and it'll allow us to do just a number of things there at that facility. The Murphys have been there. Several of you have been there as well. We really appreciate when you guys come out and visit us. We enjoy having you. It's nice to see familiar faces, so come over anytime you'd like. But in that particular place, we've went in, we've remodeled the sanctuary, we've done a lot of work in some of these other buildings. Termites there are just crazy. They just eat and they destroy. And so we've had groups come over and help us with various projects, and that's been a blessing. Every February, we're planning on having a group come out, have a men's retreat, and then do a few work days, and it's really a help to us. And I think it ministers to them, and they get a blessing out of it. And so we'll do that again this February. If you're interested in that, you can talk to Pastor Murphy. He's got a few more of the details about that. And so that's a little bit about the building. That's a little bit about the construction and the movement of it all. But when we talk about the spiritual condition of the people, what we have found is that we have a lot of transient people. And you don't really realize that until you get to a place. And you begin to see it. People come for a little while, and then they move. Or the people come, and then all of a sudden the church down the road's got a better potluck. Or various things. It could be a better music program. And when you're an independent, Bible-believing Baptist, there are certain things that are unique to Bible believers. We really get into the Word of God. And so you attract people that are hungry for the Bible, and maybe not as much as the social. Even though we have a great social environment in our church, it's not the only thing that we got going on. And so we have a strong discipleship program, and we really believe in discipleship. We've had a number of, our whole church pretty much has gone through discipleship. And right now I'm discipling a couple young men that one has just got out of, kind of some hard times out of jail, prison, ended up killing his drug dealer. And anyway, he's got out, he got saved. I did not lead him to the Lord. He got led to the Lord in prison, but then getting out, he's just looking for answers. He's looking for direction. He's looking for sound doctrine. And so him and his brother have been coming over to our house on Saturdays. We've had a chance to disciple them one-on-one, and that's been a real blessing. So discipleship has been really keen. It allows us to really get to know the people and their heart and allow them to ask questions. And so we got several different things that really allow us to get together as men, as women, to strengthen one another. And our church has seen some ebbs and flows through this whole COVID process. And we've had some older people that have just consequently stayed home, and others that were looking for an excuse not to go to church. And this is perfect. They were looking for it. Now they got it. And once things were relaxed, they just stayed away. You've got all kinds of reasons. I really believe that in these days that we live in, the church is even more needed than ever before. We really need the strengthening, the edification, the sound doctrine. And you're doing, is it a track a day in the month of August? It's a great idea, brother. Great idea. And we do that in May, and it really allows people to work together to see how God's working in our lives. And so with this whole COVID thing, it really has, the people that do come, bonded us together. And we really appreciate it. We love that part of it. And while we're still trying to reach more and more people, like the sister said earlier, some people are a little hesitant to approach and talk and all of that. But I really think that as we go along, people are looking for hope. They're looking for some answers. They're not looking just for, a church. They really want, what does the Bible say about something? And we've got the answers there. And we're thankful for that. We're grateful God placed us in Hawaii for this time. And we're praying that God would continue to bless what's going on over there. Before I get into the vocational school, I would like to have my kids come on up. And I just told them right before I got here. What I want them to be able to do is talk to you from their heart, because this is unrehearsed, unplanned, just what they appreciate about living in Hawaii. It doesn't have to be super spiritual. All right, just very real, what it's like living there, what they like about living there, what they like about their church. So we'll start with Gideon, because he's the oldest, and he's going to lay the example and the foundation for the next. Go ahead, Gideon. Why don't you come up and talk into this mic here?
Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah. Okay.
Aloha. All right. Well, he did just tell me this. I wrote down a few things, but very thankful to be here. Some things that I like about Hawaii, some things that I enjoy. I was born in North Dakota, and so it's a pretty dry area. And so one of the things that I've had through this whole experience is I've been able to meet a whole lot more of different people, and I've just pretty much had a big adventure in my life, and I'm very thankful for that. Coming from North Dakota and then going all the way to Hawaii, it's like totally different. And so it's been really good, and it's changed it's definitely changed the person who I would have been if I just lived in North Dakota my whole life versus where I live now. So I'm very thankful for that. And Hawaii is like no other state that I've really been to. I know it's in America, but it does, in some ways it doesn't really feel like America. As a white person, you're more of an outsider. So when you have more, I'm more in mixed groups. All the guys I work with, I'm the only white guy at work. When I did tennis, I was the only white kid on the team. So it's just a whole different experience. But I enjoy variety, and I enjoy different cultures. I like learning about different cultures, different food. And one thing that I like about Hawaii is it's a very close family community. Family comes first and everything. And I think that's really important, especially nowadays. I mean, you have some like one of my coworkers, he got in trouble and stuff, but like in the end, his family was always there for him. They always had that bond, and I think that's pretty neat. And then just like as my dad was saying, being able to watch us go from like a little parking lot all the way to where we're at right now is pretty incredible. Being able to see God's hand work in that, because when we first started, there was only like a handful of us, and we'd be all there. We'd take a blower, blow everything down, set up some chairs, and then we'd get there and we'd sing, and it was only like 5 of us, and then we'd see a car pull up. We're like, oh, we got a visitor, and they're just throwing their trash in the dumpster. And we're like, oh. But no, it's amazing to see come from something that small to where we are now. And we don't have like a mega church or anything. But the people we got there, I can call my family. They're going to be there for me. And, we call everyone uncle and auntie there, and they're family. It's church family. And being able to be a part of that and part of a small church, I love it, because when you're in a larger church, sometimes you might feel like what you do is not as noticed or not important. But in a small church, like every little thing, just from setting up chairs to breaking things down, that means a lot, because if you're not doing it, then we're doing it, and then the pastor has to do it, and he's preparing for the message. So all that stuff, it's huge. And even here, if you don't think you get noticed, the pastor notices, and even if the pastor doesn't notice, God notices. So it's taught me the importance of just the little things matter. And so I've also got and like I said, my church family, I can really call them family. They've watched me grown up. When I moved there, I was like this tall, and I had this uncle that I started, one of my first jobs was mowing his lawn, and then he's just like, he looks at me, and sometimes I'll do some side jobs for him. He's like, oh, you're all tall now. He was like a Japanese guy, and now I'm right here. He's like, we call him Mr. Miyagi, but and just they've just been there for me through a lot of stuff, my graduation and all that, just seeing them there, and it's a blessing just to have that close-knit family bond. And
Okay,
yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Corinne. Okay. All right, we're just probably going to have time for Corinne and maybe my wife, but that's about it. We're just running out of time here.
Aloha. Oh, I was not prepared for this at all.
Just a couple things.
Okay, keep it short. I got time. Okay. I moved to Hawaii. Yeah. I moved to Hawaii when I was
born
9
in
years
North
old.
Dakota. Okay.
I was 9 years old when I moved to Hawaii, so I have very little memory of North Dakota and Idaho. But I love Hawaii very much. I love all the adventure opportunities and the ocean, and I love it so much. I never want to move away. No, I really love our community in Hawaii. It is, like Annie was saying, very much of a family. I do a Sunday school, and I just love all the kids, and I really, really enjoy that. And having a small church, you're able to involve yourself in so much more, and I'm learning so much, especially this year, because we started doing our live stream because of COVID. And I've been doing that with one of our other church guys, and I'm learning a lot, and it's very good for me. I love the people, and
Okay.
I think that's all I can think of right now. But
Thank you. All right. Sarah, do you got one thing you'd say that you love about the ministry over there? Just from there?
I appreciate the liberty that we have in our church. I feel that liberty in this church as well, but it's not like that in every church that you go to. And I've been part of a few. And until we moved to our church, or to Hawaii and started our own church, I feel like we're just able to follow the Holy Spirit's leading, try out new things, new ideas, and we're not bucked. New ideas are not bucked by people. They just accept them. That is such a blessing. And then the other thing is that I do get to see my kids. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not loud in here. You guys can't hear me. I did say that I love the liberty in our church. But the other thing is observing our kids, being able to have a part. And when Corinne says she loves the people of Hawaii, she truly does. We have a single dad that lives on our property, and she goes out and talks to him and his kids every single day for at least half an hour. And she just, I feel like Gideon and Corinne, all the kids, even Ellen, she was in the medical community, and they were really immersed in the culture and got to really, really understand the people, and I'm really grateful for that. So.
Okay.
Samson and Saul are going to say something real quick. Sure, thank you for that. Thank you very much. Samson, come on up next to your dad. Saul, go through that real quick. They want to hear from you. Go, Saul. Go with it. Come on, Saul.
Okay. We talked about it a little bit. It's okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Just like one thing you like about Samson and Solomon are both like the really outdoorsy kids. Not that the others aren't as much, but they've really embraced like the Hawaiian culture, and they love the hunting, the fishing. We live on 2 acres, and if we get pigs on our property, which happens quite a bit, it doesn't matter what time of night. If he thinks I'm a little bit of awake, he'll come upstairs in our room and say, "Dad, get your boat. They're out." And he loves that part of it, and be able to run around and just explore and all the adventure. These guys, when they get to church, are always looking for things to do. As my wife said, your whole family's involved in a smaller church. Yeah. Everybody's got a part. And we were going to do that regardless if we're in a big church or a small church. It's just the way we are. But in a small church, it's very much a part of what we're doing there. My brother Jason and his family, they're the same way. They just get in there and just get after it, always looking for things to do, things to pick up, doors to unlock, tables to set up. It's just, there's a lot. We're trying to teach a whole generation of people how to be involved, how to minister. Typically, people come in, they sit down, and they leave. They don't think anything more about, what's my part, what's my role in a church? And so we have to lead by example. And they don't know how to take care of a pastor. They're not going to come to me and say, "Hey, it's been a year. Did you get a raise yet, Pastor?" Or can we get you something for your birthday or your anniversary? We don't get any of that. You have to teach all those. And you can understand it's sometimes awkward trying to teach people to take care of you. And it's not just for you. It's just that they learn how to minister, right? And it's the same thing within the church, setting things up and just so we're coming to that point now where people are taking ownership and they're getting involved, and we really appreciate. We love our church family. They're a blessing. Is there anything you can think of that you like?
Well, when I moved to Hawaii, I was 6 years old, so like her, and I didn't have very many memories.
Is it easy making friends over there, or is it difficult? Okay, let me see here. Trying to think of anything else that would be really easy. Do you have a favorite animal? For his birthday this year, he got a spear gun, 3-prong. Yeah. And so he loves that, and he always wants to go diving with me. He's a really, really good diver, free diver. I can't get down past like 11, 12 feet because of my ears, and anyway, it's a long story. But he does, he's 20, 25 feet, no problem, and he loves it. He just, like I said, it's a perfect fit for him. He's got a heart for ministry, and he's able to see what it's like to start a brand new church with nothing and see the Lord bless. And I'm so grateful that our kids can see all that. So thank you so much. All right. Like I said, that was all unexpected. I don't know if the outcome would have been any different had I given them. I want to show you a verse here, Ephesians 4. It's kind of a verse for our trade school. Ephesians 4. Talk just a little bit about that here tonight. And then if you have a question about it, I'd be happy to answer it. Sometimes you'll be on a different wavelength than me. I've thought a lot about this, but in different ways. Ephesians chapter number 4. I had a meeting last week with a bunch of community leaders, and they were talking about how some of the issues that are going on in the public and the private sector with schooling, education. We have a lot of private education just because the public school education is not the greatest over there. And telling us about a contest that a large group of girls were making to see who was going to get pregnant first. And what is happening over there in that culture is that, you know, the girls get pregnant and the parents end up raising the kids and the grandkids. And it begins a cycle, and that cycle is very, very much a pattern. It's become the culture in a lot of ways, where grandparents raise the grandchildren, and the kids are without the responsibility of doing all that. And consequently, they don't know how to get a loan, how to manage a checkbook, how to balance it, how, you know, the basic things, you know. And there's some lack of just some character things of just getting after it, working hard, and sticking to it. It's tough. And so we want to try to help some of these kids realize that there's some other opportunities out there if you are willing to work with your hands. Ephesians chapter number 4, and look at verse number 28. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28, it says, "Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth." And one of the things that we want to be able to do is help these kids, young people, high schoolers, learn to work with their hands in such a way that they can take care of their families, take care of their grandparents, take care of their community. So let me break it down in this way. COVID really put a wrench in the whole process. And so what we're doing is we're taking a step back, which is probably, we believe it's of the Lord. We are going to be doing this first year what is called an introduction to the trades. So what we're doing is introducing kids to various trades in different ways with a hands-on project. And so we are working on a website. It's called Kona Vocational.com if you'd like to follow us there. And on that website, we will list out all the activities for the upcoming year. So what we have going on right now in September is we're building 3 chicken coops. So we'll teach the kids how to use a skill saw, a miter saw, a jigsaw, a nail gun, how to stain, how to paint, and then we're going to create 3 of these. I have a farmer that's donating chickens for each one, and a feed store that's going to donate all the food. And I talked to a lumber yard about donating all the lumber. If they donate enough lumber for one, then praise the Lord. We're just trying to get some traction here. We're trying to show proof of concept, because within our community there are grants available for this type of thing, and there are people in our community that they've got some money. We have subdivisions that only have billionaires. Their HOAs are come close to $10-15 million that they collect every year, and they have to give those away to in part to nonprofits. And so what we are trying to do is show some type of a reasonable example of what we're trying to do in reaching these kids. And so this first one is going to be building these chicken coops. And so we've got 3 stations set up. We've got to build these canopies because we don't really have the outdoor shed or shop as of yet. And so we're doing it all outside on a basketball court. But we're going to divide them up with three groups. So we're going to build all these. And then we're going to have a guy come and talk about what it's like to raise chickens, the responsibility. And then during that process, we're going to give away enough tape measures for every kid. We can hold about 40 kids at this first clinic. And so that will be the first one. Then we got another one. We're building some cutting boards. And I got a local rancher that's going to donate all this beautiful koa wood. And we're going to cut that, router it. We're going to sand it, stain it. So they'll learn all those tools. And then then we're going to do a heavy equipment operator day. So we'll go to a location, and we'll have backhoes, track hose, we'll have some skid steers and stuff, and we're just going to let the kids maneuver around and dig holes and move dirt. And then we're going to bring in some men from the community that will talk about, how much money you can make as a heavy equipment operator. How do you get into that field? We're not going to give away any heavy equipment on that particular activity, that clinic. But then we are going to, the last activity for the fall will be a butchering culinary class. And you guys have really helped us in that and helping us further along our kitchen area, because what we had was, it was third world country, holes in the floor type scenario. Now it's beautiful, and we have an oven in there, we have countertops, we have a variety of different things. So what we're going to do is part of the culture of Hawaii is being able to take care of yourself to some degree, right? We have cows, wild cows, we have pigs, we have goats, we have sheep. Those are fairly common. You can go and you can hunt those. And so a lot of people don't, because they don't know how to process it after you've killed it. A few people do, but for the large part, this growing generation of kids don't really know. It just gives us an excuse to teach them and really get them in. So we'll bring them in, we'll cut it all up, give them a chance to do some butchering, and then we're going to bring a chef in from the community, and he's going to do an example of how to prepare some of these different types of meats and make a nice meal from that, all right? And then we'll invite probably more than just the kids, probably men and women from the community on that. So in every one of these clinics, you got parents that are coming, they're bringing their kids, and then we're going to be training the people in our church to go and mingle with all the parents and begin to talk to them a little bit about the Lord, invite them out to church, trying to make connections. We are trying to build relationships and let them know how much we care about them. We do love them. And of course, the end result is we want to get these people the gospel. And we're just using this as a tool to get in there. There's a program, it's called the NCCR program, and it is a nationally accredited trade school curriculum. And we have been contacted by the fellow on the West Coast. His name is Mr. Eves, and Ken Eves is his name. He's going to be coming out to Hawaii next year. He's going to certify us, and he's going to look at our location, and then he's going to help us interact with the community through the public school system as well as the private sector. We've already had one private school come and talk to me. I had a meeting with them for 3 hours, my brother and I. It went better than what we expected. They are begging to send kids to our program. And so they have 3 different ways of doing that. Seniors, as you may or may not know, a lot of seniors in schools have from like 12 o'clock on a free period where they can go and do some type of preliminary education either at a college or work as an intern someplace. This is a place where they could come. They also have to do so many hours of community service. They can come. And so these are just ways for us to interact with kids and share with them the hope that we all have, and that's the Lord Jesus Christ. Somebody said, well, how do we get involved? Well, first of all, we appreciate your support. Your support helps us. But in addition to that, we have things that you guys can be involved in as far as like if you talk to your pastor, someone had talked about, could we, buy some tools? You can certainly buy tools. We need tools. We need knives. We need a variety of different things. What's neat about this is we can use everything that we've used and just keep on using it from year to year. And we had one sweet guy in our church, and he came up to me last week, and he's like 80 years old. He said, hey, Pastor, I've got all these tools I bought like 30 years ago, and I have never used them, and they're all sitting in my garage. And we know what happens to tools in a garage in Hawaii that never get used. But his heart is in the right place, and he wants to donate them all. The problem is they're probably so rusted out and so, worn out that we've got to work with some really good equipment. We don't want a kid to be, using a chop saw and something go haywire, and, we've got a finger on the ground, and I got to explain to the parents, sorry, he got his finger there and something happened, and then now we got a lawsuit or whatever. We got to be very careful when you're handling heavy equipment. But we're getting men and women in the community that want to be a part. They say, hey, I'm a welder, or, I'm a gardener. Can I come and teach that? And what we need is prayer. We need prayer because as this thing begins to unfold and more people are interested in getting involved, they understand how this can impact a whole community. We really want to work with saved men and women because we want to head in the right direction. Now, if we get volunteers that want to help and watch kids, then great. Especially parents, stick around, help. But as far as leaders teaching other kids, we want to keep these men and women as brothers and sisters in Christ. We want to keep that all kind of working together, going in the same direction. So pray for that, for wisdom. With the public school system, we're limited on what we can say. We can't preach to them, but we can have 30, 40 kids come and work with us. So it's like, okay, do we just stick with the private? Do we reach out into the public sector and have an impact? And it was interesting. I was praying about it, and a lady came to me the very next day, and she says, the Mormons have a tutoring opportunity where they go to the public schools and they tutor kids after school. They can't preach to them. They're not supposed to say anything to them. But over half the kids that went through that tutoring program offered by the LDS Church, over half those kids are going on a mission now after they graduate. So what does that teach me? That showed to me that if we're not reaching these people, others will. And if we get just even a little sliver, it's better than nothing at all. And so we're going to explore those things. We just need wisdom. So this year is going to be introduction. Next year, we're looking at doing a full-fledged from noon to 4 o'clock every day. We're just praying for workers and laborers. If that's the Lord's will, he's going to have to supply it because we can't. So thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to come and talk to you a little bit about where your money is going and where your prayers are being answered. Thank you. We love you guys.
You want to take a few questions?
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Micah. All right. Is there any questions that you might have about, ministering in Hawaii? I know we didn't answer everything, but you might have a question. And I can't see everybody in the balcony, but if you have a question about something for me or my family, my wife or my kids, we'd be happy to answer any of those questions for you. We just really appreciate your continual support and prayer. Anybody? Okay, I think we get... Yes, sir?
I just heard that Hawaii is really a tough place for pastors, that they want to know that you're going to stay there. And I've heard that a lot of them stay for a year and then they just leave. Have you heard that? Is that true, Sam?
Well, they don't typically stick around. It's a little more than a year. But what the average scenario is this. There's very few local pastors. And the local pastors that I've talked to, they have a wonderful heart for their community, but they're very, maybe, I don't know how to say this, just kind of more shallow in doctrine, okay? They're not really grounding their people, but they are loving their people. And I think the Lord blesses it, but that's what it is. So majority of the pastors that are there are from America, majority. And what happens is they come over there and they're trying to reinvent their old church into that environment, and it simply doesn't work. It doesn't work. You can't even take this church, as wonderful as it is, and transplant that in other areas where the culture is just different. And we've got a much different culture over there in Hawaii than, say, most places in America, except for maybe the deep south, where you have a strong culture down there. And so that's what happens. And consequently, there's discouragement. And what we found is the pastors, the men that just engage the community, get involved in community activities. For instance, I play pickleball. That's one of the things that I do. Anybody in here play pickleball? Okay, a few of you. Okay. So I'll go out and play pickleball. Yeah, it's a great exercise. It's a way for me to kind of let off some steam. I need that. But I'm engaging 40, 50 people every time I go out. And, my wife and I were talking about, we got 3 people in our church now that are, from pickleball. And it just gives you another chance of interacting, okay? I'm a chaplain in the police department and the fire department. And so when I go out there, I get a chance to interact with those people. I've got a very good relationship with the assistant chiefs and the captain of our station. And it's just... whenever anything needs to be said or done, they'll ask me to come and pray. So that really helps. So the guys that are not willing to engage and just rub shoulders with the locals, and that means putting up with some things, maybe different than what you're used to, you're going to really struggle. And that's what we've found is people really struggle. And financially, it's very expensive. We've had 6 pastors in the last 2 years leave that are part of Baptist churches, Southern and independent. And it's just, I don't know. I can't speak exactly as to why, but it happens. Listen, ministry is exhausting anyway. It's exhausting physically, mentally, spiritually. And there's another element over there. I don't want to go into all the details. It's a very spiritual place. You're dealing with a lot of resentment from the past. The missionaries that came over had great intentions, but they did not train their children well. Their children or grandchildren abused the privileges and the opportunities they had in Hawaii, and they basically made profit off of the Hawaiian people. That left a bad taste. And now we're reaping that attitude. And so there's some of that, and it's a very spiritual, dark place. Okay? I think you'll find that almost on any island place. Fiji, Marshallese, the Cook Islands, any island nation, you're going to, near water, it's just, I don't know, there's something about it. Anybody else have another question? Yes, ma'am.
So what kind of religions do you encounter there? Or what are people used to there?
Yeah, I would say you have Buddhists. We have that Japanese influence, the Buddhists, and then we have a large charismatic movement over there connected with YWAM. And so there's some wonderful people there, but doctrinally we'd be different. They go around town laying hands on people, trying to heal people and speaking in tongues and that sort of thing. And of course, it's nothing that we do in public. We don't do that, but in private. We lay our hands on our kids all the time. You got it. Here's something that I'll bring up. Maybe we'll be done after this, but you've got to be very careful not to be critical of other people. You're living with these people, and word gets out, all we are is just critical of that church and that church and that church and that church. That's the title we'll get. And that's not what we're about. And so what we try to do is teach and preach sound doctrine, and we hope that through that doctrine, people will like, oh, that's not how I was raised, or I went to a church and they did something different. Okay, good. I'm glad you came to that conclusion, right? And so we've got to be very, very careful not to be critical of other churches. And I will say that even in the charismatic movement, the charismatic churches, that there are some of them that have the plan of salvation. It's doctrinally sound, and they're leading people to the Lord. And I appreciate some of their enthusiasm. I appreciate the fact that a lot of times they think outside of the box. They just sent 2 men to Iraq 2 years ago to set up a CrossFit to train Iraqis on how to get fit. And a Jewish man from Texas set it all up, paid $10 million, and invested in those 2 guys, and they're trying to lead those guys to the Lord over there. I'm just saying, they're creative, they think out of the box, and I appreciate that. And so I'm not trying to criticize. I'm just saying we got that to deal with. And so that's one element of it. And then not really any, we got some Buddhists and stuff like that, but the Mormon influence is little. Lutheran influence is little. Methodist influence is little. And so at one point, Hawaii was the most Christian nation in the world. Over 90% were saved. And then some things happened, tragically. Some abuse of power. And I won't get into all the history of Hawaii. It's just sad. It took away from what God was doing. And it was greed. And, what's done in the past is in the past, but we're reaping some of that mindset. And you know how people like to bring up things from the past that's not really relevant for today, but it gives them an excuse to be bitter and angry. And that's what we're finding over there. So, all right. Pastor?
Well, I was really glad he mentioned just not being critical